So, I mean, talk about this. Something I struggle with, and I'm assuming you struggled with it based off the research I did, is shiny object syndrome. What shiny object syndrome means is you always want to do the next thing. So for me, I started vlogging in 2019, then I did music, and then I did stand-up comedy. I'm doing podcasting. I want to do keynote speaking. Yes, those all kind of align.
Yeah.
And so I could probably do two or three of those things, but the issue is that I spread myself so thin that I didn't create any depth in any of those areas. And I know it seems now that you are very dialed in with your marketing university, but it seems that you did many things in the past. How did shiny object syndrome hold you back or not hold you back? Or what did
Definitely. I think shiny object syndrome for me was so prevalent up until probably like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was the same as you. There was similarities between what I was hopping between, but I was podcasting, vlogging. I would, work on a job here and do like, it was just, and it, kind of freelancing fed into that because you're always hopping from one thing to the next, always trying to get the best client, all of that. So like, it all kind of fed into that. And so, it was, just constantly hopping between the next best thing. And I'd give it always kind of extended, I'd give it like a month, I'd give it 2 months, I'd give it 6 months. But I never really topped a year. Yeah. It was like kind of the longest I stuck with anything. But I think that comes down to maturity and finding your purpose and finding your why and growing in a certain area. And so, when I think one thing that was consistent for that whole time, was that even though I jumped between like podcasting and all that, I've always been in the creative industry. Yeah. And then when I started doing video, I have for the longest time told people that I'm a videographer and I do video. And like you said, the further deeper you go into stuff, the more you get known, the more referrals there are, and basically ultimately the bigger return you get. Like I get calls now randomly for like video projects that there was a relationship with someone that I did like a video project for them like 2 years ago, or didn't even do a video project. They just knew that I did them because I was at school with them or something. And I get a call from them, they'll be like, hey, my parents have this thing going on, or my dad's business has this thing. Like, I immediately thought of you when they said they need some video stuff. Like, is that something you're open to? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's not. But it's like, you just have people randomly hitting you up for like those kinds of things. And it's like, that's still for me just the biggest like brain fuck, because I can't I'm like, that's so wild. Like, does someone would still think of me that far ago to like, that I would do that kind of thing. And so, I think just once you've found something you are genuinely quite passionate about, just like sticking with that, it's only a matter of time until you reach or start reaching the metrics and goals that you want to achieve. As long as you, constantly talk to people or constantly striving to get a bit better at it, keep working at it. But once you pick a path, as long as you just stick with that, you will find success without a doubt. And I think honestly, that's the biggest part of success. And for startups in particular, the stat is like 80% of startups fail in the first 5 years or something like that. And so I think like that's the biggest thing for a startup is like, not only are you just trying to, being persistent in the vision of what you're trying to achieve with the startup, but secondly, you're trying to survive. Like monetarily, you're trying to raise the money to ensure that you have, the funds to continue the project. And so I think, anything that's worthwhile, if you think it's worthwhile, you should just fucking persist for as long as humanly possible, because you will find success. And every time, there's been a couple of times where I thought with Mark U, I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this. Like, it's so hard. Trying to get the sale was incredibly hard, like I said early on with, trying to just get that return, like get sales going, which took the longest time. And so I think that was the biggest thing for me. And every time I would meet with Brendan, I would speak about that, or I'd talk to a friend and be like, oh my God, I think I can do this. Then I do. Just persist, just keep going. You'll be totally fine. You've had an amazing success so far. And genuinely, like the last 2 or 3 times I've had that thought, the next day, a big deal would come through the door, or a big change would mean that we were able to reach more clients or improve our editing. Like there would be a huge breakthrough literally the day after I went to bed after feeling like I can't do editing,
I definitely can relate to that with the podcast, where I committed to doing 2 episodes a week, and there's times where I'm coasting, I'm a month ahead. have everything set. Like this episode right now is going to be posted next Thursday. I've been in a period where I'm filming and I'm posting the same episode I'm filming. And that actually has some benefits because the guest remembers it more. They're more likely to share it because it's been more recent. But I get to points where in my podcast, I don't think I've ever been debating quitting because I love it so much, but just so like, dude, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And just trying to not get caught up in that loop of what do I need to do and just keep going. Just be present. Just keep going. And then again, 5 people will hit me up. I'm down to go on the bio, and then it's like, you're like overwhelmed. You went from nobody to now you have a month of people scheduled. Yeah. That happens a lot. But going back to the shiny object syndrome, there's something I want to say about that, which is I used to see my shiny object syndrome as such a bad thing because I would always tell myself, if I just did YouTube from May of 2019 when I started it, if I did YouTube and I never tried music and I never tried a comedy and I never tried podcasting, I would be successful now. That's what I used to tell myself. But the issue was that I defined success as money, views, likes. I probably would be in those metrics. I'd probably be more successful. Yeah. But as I've listened to so many success stories and so many people on just to acknowledge we have switched to the iPhone. Yeah. I'm actually curious. If any of you guys think that the footage looks better than the camera, please comment below. I might start integrating iPhone shots into the podcast. Yep. I was going on a rant about shiny object syndrome and how I used to see it so negatively, but now I really see it as a positive because I got to experience things that I probably won't be able to experience when I'm so successful. Because when I have a ton of success and I'm providing for a wife and a family and employees, that I'm not going to be able to experiment with things such as stand-up comedy. Maybe I can because I'm in the podcasting career, but most of the time you can experiment less. So shiny object syndrome was a blessing. Not that enthusiastic to say that because you've been off the camera for so long.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and it comes down to the journey. Like just being just being passionate about the journey that you're on, and like it's fine. I think you don't want to be doing shiny object stuff for too long, right? But ultimately, you're absolutely right. Like it's not bad when you have the opportunity. When it's time to knuckle down, when you found your thing that you're passionate about, like podcasting or whatever it may be. Like when you knuckle down and do that, of course, stick the path, all right, on doing that. But at the same time, you're right. I think early on, it's not a bad thing to do because it helps you find what you're passionate about. And once you have, then you can stick with that and just go really deep into that one thing. Because ultimately, one thing I found when I had shiny object syndrome and I was jumping from one hot thing to the next and all of this, like, I didn't realize how much it takes to invest time into one thing. Yeah. And Alex Ramosi talks about this a little bit, where it's like the audacity to think that your best on 4 different things is going to be better than someone else's best on one thing is the most arrogant thing you could ever have, right? Like ultimately, if you focus on that one thing, you might get the chance of being successful at that one thing, right? If you focus on 4 things, I guarantee you'll be a lot of stress and it'll be a bunch of shit things, like over the long period of time, right? If we're talking about, really trying to go into a number of different businesses. Now, everyone might be like, that's super hypocritical, Rio. You're opening another business, which you're going to talk about in a minute. But it's like, mine is like kind of, they're vertically integrated with each other. One business is going to benefit the other business and so on. And so it's kind of like they're almost the same thing. It would be like opening a new department of the business, essentially. And so that's slightly different, but when you have like a marketing agency and then you have you're a full-time YouTuber as well, and you have all of these